Oh, hello there. This is a different type of video. Oh, I need to turn my light on. That might help with lighting. Yeah, that might work. It's the new thing called a Callumcast, which they came up with a name, which is awesome. But this is actually going to be talking about sort of a more in-depth detail with Twin Suns Foundation. So, guys want to introduce yourselves?
Ladies first.
Oh, okay, we're going this way? I thought we were going to go by order of seniority.
By age, you mean?
Seniority and roles, I mean, not age. Sorry, Brian. I'm Amelia, and I do stuff for Twin Suns that is vaguely defined.
Vaguely defined.
We're required by U.S. government to have a minimum of 3 board members to run a nonprofit, so I'm one of the 3, and other than that, my job description is very vague, and I do a little bit of everything.
You know, that's probably true for most of us.
That is true, yeah.
Yes, as being pointed out in our text chat that's ongoing right now. So, Callum, before we go any further, I think, Gordon, did you want to introduce yourself? I don't think he's actually talking.
Has anyone heard?
Well, I might as well. I'm Brian Borg. I'm the current president of Twin Suns Foundation. That implies I do a lot of stuff too, but don't really specialize in any one given thing. But yeah, that's
he does all of the work, and we're just there for moral support.
That's cool.
Couldn't do it alone either way.
Yeah.
No. So yeah, I think we wanted to kind of go through, and I'm going to share with the text chat that's ongoing, but Callum, do you actually show the text chat on your screen for the recording, or no?
Yeah, I am.
Okay,
I'm showing that. And just so everyone knows, I was planning to do this as a live stream until I realised I got copyright striked, so this way we found an alternative to do it, so that's awesome.
Okay, so what I just shared in our text chat is basically
Make sure
the list of full notes for every single one of our meetings. It is a text document just for Notepad. You guys are free to open it up, take a look at it. There is some information I've omitted for, well, Twin Suns privileged information, such as what we're planning on doing in 2020, some stretch goals that we haven't yet announced for this current fundraiser, and I think later on there's a name mention that I didn't think needed to be mentioned in this, so...
Yeah, that's fair.
So, what I figured we'd probably do, and if that's all right with you, Cal, we can kind of go through our list of notes, just kind of looking at what we did. This is very bare bones notes of our conversations that started all the way back on July 27th, when we had our first Twin Suns staff meeting regarding this.
Nice.
So,
yeah, sure. Sounds good.
Already? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind, hasn't it, Amelia?
Time flies.
It always is with us, honestly.
Fair enough.
I think that's a common thing with a lot of people.
Yeah, no, well, particularly when you're as busy as us. So, a little bit of background on this July 27th meeting. It was something we were needing to do for a couple of reasons. One was we planned out our rough 2020 schedule during it, which obviously we're not going to go over here because I admitted it. But the other things we talked about were what we wanted to do for the rest of this half of the year. And that's when the billboard effort started being discussed in some detail, but not a lot of detail. But it was actually a secondary focus at this point because we were just getting ready to start our Star Wars Reads 2019 fundraiser, which was aiming to raise funds for 2 different locations. Yes, the 2020 schedule may or may not include a book drive.
Yes,
we like to think it will.
I mean, Twin Suns has been giving books out for ages, so book drive, maybe. Book drive.
That's right. That's right. We might or might not specialize in that. Billboards are kind of not our specialty. So
but
yeah,
Sith Lords are our speciality.
Well, I'm not going to deny it. We actually might have a couple of those, hang every now and then. Or at least Travis likes to think she's one, so, you know, his whole Sith philosophy on things. Anyway, straying from the point. 27th, the 27th meeting. So yeah, we had decided during this point that both Amelia and Dylan were going to be heading our next 2 donations, and that we were going to be aiming for them to be in San Francisco at Tenderloin Rec Center, which had requested us to come back. And then Amelia mentioned that she had a location near her in the Dallas area that she wanted to potentially donate to. So we looked into both of those, but this is the.
You actually had 3, but yeah, the one that
right,
got back with us first.
You did.
That's right. That's cool.
So, I wouldn't be surprised if we have more targets in the future there, but
yeah,
stay
yeah,
on
there's a lot of
target.
options.
Stay on target.
exactly. So during this meeting, we had actually, and more relevant for the billboard effort, we had actually set an initial meeting date to start discussing this in full with some people outside of Twin Suns Foundation who had been a part of the original billboard effort on the 7th of August. That actual donation, what's Dylan saying now? Originally wanted to do Tenderloin December for Christmas, but yeah, that's right. So they wanted us for their Halloween event. So I should take a moment to mention that even while this whole billboard thing's going on right now, we actually have 2 donation events happening later this month that we're going to be sharing information on. Hopefully we'll get some good photos. Amelia is going to be heading one. That's at the Scottish Rite.
The Scottish Rite Children's Hospital, yeah.
Yeah. In Dallas, and then like I said earlier, Dylan's heading up a Tenderloin Rec Center donation. So we got a little bit of a variety in what we tend to donate to, but Tenderloin liked us enough last time, and I guess they wanted Dylan to come back. So hopefully this time we can get the 501st Golden Gate Garrison there. They've indicated they're interested. They just need to free up some members to show. And the same goes for the I think it's the Star Garrison who's handling Dallas right now. So
yeah, they've gotten back with me, and they said they're contacting members, and so hopefully people will be available.
Exactly. So, there you go for the donations for books. I think we're donating just shy of 150 books between the 2 donation locations, which should bump us up over 1,200 books donated total through the foundation since we started.
That's
pretty good.
Awesome.
So, kind of heading back to the towards the billboard, like I said earlier, August 7th is what we had planned our initial meeting to be. However, it ended up getting delayed because a couple of the people that we wanted to bring in outside Twin Suns Foundation had busy schedules and they couldn't quite make it. So we had to reschedule for the 14th. So guys, if you take a look at the notes that I had there, you can kind of scroll down and see the August 14th billboard meeting notes. This is literally the notes I just copy and pasted straight from our Twin Suns group on Facebook of everything I typed up from the meeting. Nice. And this initial meeting kind of gave us a rough timeline for when we were aiming to get things done. It's always hectic during these meetings. They take a little bit longer than they otherwise should because a little bit of fun with them.
And it's totally not because Brian has very ADHD employees.
It has nothing to do with it at all.
Hey, you want your meetings to be entertaining.
That's right. They have to be entertaining, otherwise people will fall asleep. So,
of all the crazy things that have happened in our meetings, nobody has fallen asleep yet.
I'm sure something would happen if someone did fall asleep. Like you bring out the marker or something.
Hey guys, real fast, for our mods, I think Lynn just showed up. She's going to need the right permissions to join this call. If somebody wants to help her out with that. So August 28th is the first important date that we had scheduled, which was the next meeting after the one we were just doing on the 14th. And we had set the deadline for locating actual billboards and finding pricing by that point too. So we wanted to be able to discuss locations and pricing during the 28th meeting. We had set tentatively September 13th to do a specific message to be settled upon. I think that ended up taking a little bit longer than that, but this was the early outline for what we were aiming for. Yeah. The 20th is when we ended our actual Star Wars Reads 2019 fundraiser. So we had to push really hard and focus really hard on that fundraiser and not so much on the billboard while this was all going on too. So team members that were working on the billboard were also working on our other fundraiser, which kept us extremely busy compared to how we normally are. 24th, next one we're looking at, this is where the first mention of groundwork letters come up. So for those who don't know, we did another billboard, and it wasn't through Twin Suns Foundation at the time, but we did another billboard back in 2015. That's when the fundraiser started, and we actually just had our anniversary for that post back on the 8th. Was when this whole thing started. What was that? 5 years ago? 4 years ago.
Yeah, a while ago.
So
anyway.
yeah, it was a while ago. It feels like it was just yesterday. To be honest with you, it's that's how much of a whirlwind it is for us. But that particular billboard, once it launched in April of 2016, there was some confusion about it as to what we were actually asking for, and we had that outlined at the time on a website, giveuslegends.net, hoping that people would follow the link there and learn more for what we were actually wanting to do, because you can only say so much on the billboard space. You wanted to be quick, concise, to the point, and get across the fact that it's Star Wars without saying Star Wars, because obvious copyright issues, hence the design of it. But what ended up happening is only a handful of people actually did that, and some of those people, thankfully, were media, but most of them, didn't, and that included other media outlets. And it was basically pretty quickly misconstrued what we were actually after. The important thing is, our audience at that time is the same as our new audience, Lucasfilm. They knew exactly what we were wanting to do, so that wasn't ever in question. But it did get us some negative press, wasn't quite fair. Hence why we decided to do the quote-unquote groundwork letters this time. What we ended up doing was started putting together a list of emails that we had collected and contacts that we had collected over the last 4 years at various Twin Suns events. Both celebrations, major media outlets. I think we included yourself on that, Callum, too, like YouTube channels, that kind of thing. And we found as many email addresses for them as possible. And basically, we were compiling this list up until, I want to say, the weekend before the billboard launch. But we'll kind of get to that. That's what we mean by groundwork, is basically setting the stage, getting everything together, where all of these people would be getting a letter even before or just as the billboard project launches, stating exactly what it's about, so that there would be less confusion. The media outlets would have information on it. Basically stave off the problems we had before they ever could have a chance to occur this time.
Yeah, that's a good way of going about it.
Right. So you can't say we didn't learn anything from the first one. So September 24th was our that one. October 1st was always going to be what we were aiming for to actually launch our fundraiser.
Interesting.
Well, Dylan, I look pretty weird if I don't come prepared. I'll flounder a lot on my words. It's really awesome when that happens. So October 1st in the U.S. is when we wanted to launch it. I should have said this earlier. All these dates are based on U.S. times. I know it's a little bit different for yourself, Callum, or Gordon. Being on the other side of the world, your things are a little bit different there. But aiming for November 30th was our initial period for ending our fundraiser, and that's what we're currently aiming for too. And I think as of right now, we're actually doing pretty well.
It says in here, I like it.
Yeah, it really has. You're right. And it says on here the next thing is the January, February 2020, the billboard to be installed. That is what we're targeting right now, but that heavily depends on how quickly we can fund. And I'll get to why that is a little bit later. But so scrolling down a little bit further, fundraiser specifics. Our goal, we knew it to be around $4,000 to $6,000. So we just know that based off of our previous, billboard in the same area. We knew we wanted it to be targeted at Lucasfilm employees again, because they're the ones that we need to convince if we're ever going to have a continuation of Star Wars Legends. Obviously, we wanted the tone of our message to be polite, otherwise it's just going to be ignored. We talked about potential perks at this point. Things like things like doing bookmarks, the Wild Nights chats, which we've done for every fundraiser that we've ever hosted, with the exception of the first billboard, obviously. Matt had offered to do a bunch of perks for his YouTube channel, and that's Matt Wilkins, for those who don't know. Matt has been a part of every donation effort we've done, offering a perk for everything, including the original billboard. And that's one link I didn't prepare for you, Callum, but I could probably pull up. The Indiegogo campaign still shows all the original perks, and I think nice. Matt at that time was charging $150 for his perk, if I'm not mistaken. So he's actually
sounds
gotten a little cheaper
suspicious
over
to
time.
me.
He's gotten a little cheaper over time. But one thing we had discussed doing was the shirts, custom shirts, hats, stuff of that nature. And we discuss that every single time we do a fundraiser. And we run into the same problems every time. There's a lot of logistical hurdles that we have to overcome, and which obviously includes a lot of time that most of us just don't have, because you got to keep in mind this is all volunteer work. So yeah, it's likely. What do we say? We have less likely to happen due to third-party fundraising issues. There are also legalities between using a for-profit company. Yeah, I'll try to find that Indiegogo fundraiser page for you in a second. We'll let Amelia start talking after I stop monologuing here. But yeah, basically we had some concerns with the legal issues that might surround using a for-profit company to make these items for a non-profit company. And to be honest with you guys, Twin Suns Foundation came about only because I had enough spare time to look into enough IRS law to learn how to do it. That doesn't necessarily mean I know everything that surrounds it.
And the laws would be a bit different over there to here as well and whatnot. So.
Correct. Yeah. There's international law involved too when you're talking about donors from outside of the U.S. and all that fun stuff. So it gets complicated, even more complicated than it was to begin with, very quickly. So yeah, we had talked about doing other things like a movie night with Twin Suns Foundation on Discord. TSF members giving commentary live while watching a movie for everybody to tune in and kind of joke around, just kind of mess around with. Things of that nature. We did come up with
a similar thing to what I'm thinking of doing soon instead of my live streams.
Exactly. So like you said earlier, before this thing started, you had mentioned that video that gives me some ideas to how we could potentially do it. So we might end up doing that in the future, but we'll see.
That'd be cool. And I think for the merch as well, something that I would be thinking is, if I'm donating to Twin Suns, I want my money to go towards the billboard and not towards creating the merch.
So that was another thing we did discuss. We knew that whatever perks we had offered, we wanted to keep the cost as low as possible, because there are a couple of issues here. Obviously, if we make the goal too high, it's going to be looking like it's unobtainable to anybody who would potentially donate. They'd be less likely to donate. But we also have another restriction on us in the fact that as a nonprofit 501c3, if we raise more than $10,000 in a year, we actually have to file taxes at an expense, and that expense, I believe, is $800. So the second we hit that $10,000 mark, we knew we had to raise another $800, otherwise we're out $800. So that's why we set the goal, and I don't know if anybody's seen this on the fundraiser page, but it specifically says there that if we exceed our goal, we can only go up to 6,500. We will immediately shut it off at 6,500 in order to stay under that $10,000 collected for the whole year. Because to this point, we've raised, I think, a little over $3,000 before the billboard launched, the project launched. Nice. And so we're thinking ahead on that. We don't want to be caught with
good pre-planning.
Taxes. Exactly. So yeah, there were some other things too. Obviously, if we have to keep under that goal limit, there would have been a lot of limits as to why, we would have been stuck under that $10,000 and what we could do with our perks. So yeah, it's a little frustrating. We'd like to do more. It might look like we're lazy or just not creative, but we talk about these things. It's a matter of what we're actually fiscally able to do and feasibly able to collect. I just dropped a link for everybody into the chat. That's the original billboard project.
I may as well just bring that up now.
Sure.
And so that actually got just over $7,000 for that. Looking at it.
For Australian, I believe.
Oh, Australian dollars. Yeah, it shows Australian dollars because that's where I am.
Because our goal at the original billboard was actually $4,537 US. We had the exact amount. We ended up raising slightly more than that, and just so you guys know, there wasn't a Twin Suns Foundation at this point. The extra ended up being the first books we ever donated, and I was lucky I got to do that donation. It was to a library I used to work at, actually, and the same library where I found my first EU books, coincidentally.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, there's a little bit of history there at that library. But if you scroll down all the way to the bottom of that page, you'll see I think it's the was it? Worshippers,
There's
was
some
it?
pledges, yeah, I've found that section.
Yeah. So there's some stuff going on here. Pledges,
The $1.
Matt Wilkins, yeah, so he offered 3 different perks during this original. $50 or more, $75 or more, or $150 or more. So Matt's always been involved with the Billboard project. It was originally his idea, I believe, and Dylan can probably give more details on that than I can because I came in a little bit later. I'm just the guy who made the post in the group that got it all started. And found myself at the center of it somehow. But yeah.
That's the way the news goes.
Yeah, I guess that's the way it went. So I just happened to be able to figure out how to find us, you know, the Billboard companies and all that fun stuff. You know, whatever problem came up, it was just another hurdle to jump over and make it happen. That's what we ended up doing. So
yeah, here it's got Matt offering to have someone guest host on his podcast. So that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest with you, he's always offered that guest host podcast spot up until this fundraiser. This time he changed it so that you'd be on his YouTube channel guest hosting something. Right. Skype call from Minox Nest is where the podcast. Oh yes, the Minox Nest podcast.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, other questions for the original Billboard before we keep going? Amelia,
I'm interested with the original Billboard. Like, what are the main takeaways for each of you?
Main takeaways. All right. Well, I'll let Amelia do that one since I've been talking.
The main takeaway is that our next adventure should be sending a billboard to the moon.
Oh, come on.
Okay, anybody who didn't see that one telegraphed.
I was thinking of the main takeaways from the aftermath. Like the messages and what you've taken as the main lessons to improve on the new ones.
So main lessons to improve on. I think I already touched on one of those, obviously. Yeah. The public perception. You can only do so much with the billboard space, so you want to make sure you get your message out even before you get the billboard up.
Amelia, who wasn't on the team when the first billboard went up.
No, she wasn't. No, she wasn't. But hey, I'm still going to ask her.
I was a big promoter, which was how I ended up running with this.
Exactly.
That's cool.
I think the first time I actually came across was on a YouTube video that she had done.
Oh, nice.
Oh gosh, I haven't done those in like 5 or 6 years.
Oh.
I know, that's how long ago it feels like I've came across.
Yeah, I think the first time I was on the same Skype call as Matt some years ago, he's like, "Oh yeah, you used to do these like YouTube videos," and like I watched those, and I was like, "Oh gosh, that's when I was in high school, like 6 years ago." Yeah.
Me too.
Yep, pretty much. So you guys are making me feel like the old guy. I stop that.
John T. or Dylan here was saying, to be fair, half the current team were added since Billboard 1, so that's
correct.
Cool
so
how it's growing.
That's very true. Very true.
Like, member.
Yes, you are. He was our original website designer, and he must have done a good job because we kept him around. Either that, or we had no other options.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of both.
No, Gordon's been doing an awesome job. You know, he likes to stab the websites every now and then, but aside from that, you know, he's doing a pretty good job.
Nice.
Nah, inside jokes for Twin Sons Foundation. There you go.
Woo.
So yeah, we had a pretty tiny team when he initially did that. I probably actually have some photos from when Dylan, Bill, and I actually went to San Francisco on our Billboard pilgrimage, so to speak, to take photos and make sure it went up right and find out exactly how close in walking distance it was to Lucasfilm.
I believe those are on our website.
They probably are.
Did you test it between fast walking and slow walking?
I don't think we did, but there were also quite a few stoplights in the way, so, you know. I don't know that we would have gotten very far either way. We did end up walking to Lucasfilm, though. Didn't try getting in. We figured they'd probably kick us out pretty quickly.
You just end up with the meme, the let me in.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. But, yeah, no, it was good. We got some photos outside with the Yoda statue, all that fun stuff, and we had a good time.
That's cool.
It was one of those, I can't believe we did that moments. But yeah, it was a good time. Other takeaways, like I said, we knew to get ahead of the problem. We knew that when we were there, we found that there were locations that were closer. They just weren't available at the time we wanted the first one to go up. So we knew if we did it again, we could get something closer, which what we're aiming for now is, I think, half the distance now. So
Nice.
much closer. What
Ideally,
else?
they just look out the window and see it.
Yeah, it would be nice to, maybe buy their window space in their own building, and just kind of put, give us legends in the window.
Or by
please
the part
continue
of their
legends
wall above the main entrance.
Exactly, exactly. But yeah, exactly. But yeah, other things we knew, and this is for people who might not have heard us say this before, but we knew for a fact several Lucasfilm employees definitely saw and were appreciative of the effort that we were demonstrating. I'm not going to name names because they might get in trouble, but there were some bigger names, particularly ones attached to the expanded universe, and I can't really say too much more than that. Particularly attached to the expanded universe that really enjoyed seeing what we did. And I suspect that the very people that saw that first billboard are the reason why Twin Suns Foundation, after it was created and linked to that first billboard, was invited to Star Wars Celebration Orlando, and later invited again to Chicago. So it definitely opened the door for us. You can't say it didn't do anything, and we've been making use of that ability to go to those celebrations to network. So other thoughts? Other thoughts on that original billboard? Nothing?
I guess I could bring up the question of people that call the new extra material the expanded universe as well.
Say again?
So some people I know call the new books, comics, video games, etc. the expanded universe as well.
Yeah,
So
there is some confusion there.
that was
because
where some of the confusion came from, probably.
Effectively, it is an expanded universe, what they're doing now, anything outside their... which is why we try to make use of the Legends language, because they branded it Legends, which means that's what they recognize it as, and that's what we ultimately decided to do with our new billboards. And we'll kind of get to that.
We'll get to that.
We meticulously went over the wording.
Yeah. People are asking questions about the stream in general.
The stream in general?
If there's any questions that you think are good for this, then just drop them. Otherwise, people can just join the Discord server and comment and whatnot. Be good.
Definitely. Definitely. That's part of the reason why I wanted to do this, is because I know there are questions, and I'd be happy to answer questions. But maybe the best way to finish going through all those questions...
in the general chat, people are asking. Well, I don't have that up, and I don't want to go outside of the Calamcast chat, because then that'll muck up looking at everything.
So yes, to clarify, a lot of the people behind this current billboard project are the same people that did the first one. We've been here all along as Twin Suns Foundation. We just kind of renamed ourselves to get us a nonprofit and start doing some charity.
Created a formal organization out of it.
Correct, and there were reasons for that too. And I guess if we're kind of moving away from the first billboard, I can kind of explain why that was. Is one of us had to report all that money that was raised as income. And we knew that if we did this again, we didn't want that to happen to any one of the team members again. So we knew a nonprofit was going to be necessary as a hub to collect the money and then actually put it into something. So that's actually the initial reason why we thought about doing a nonprofit. And then we figured, well, we just donated a bunch of books. Why don't we make that our focus? That seems like a good use for profit.
Spreads awareness, and other people can enjoy the stories we enjoy.
And that's when we had our discussion about. That's when we had our discussion about how a lot of us didn't used to reading until we found Star Wars books, and we're like, oh well, now we've got a direction to go with this, because we can promote reading by sharing Star Wars books. If it worked for us, why wouldn't it work for others? So that's kind of our line of thought there. So kind of moving on. Unless you guys have anything else to add to the original billboard.
I don't have any extra questions at the moment. I think the question that was in the general chat, I did have a quick look. was cleared
Okay.
up. And someone just posted an Emperor Valkorion quote.
Yes. Future is not a. I actually saw that just before I drove home today, and I thought that was actually a pretty good quote. I like that.
It's a good quote.
It is. Okay, so let's see. Still on the first meeting notes. Kind of. A lot of these are a lot more quick after this point, but the meetings actually got longer. Counter
Matt's
to
YouTube
what
channel
these
to
notes
increase to 3 EU reviews per week. Ooh.
So these are things he discussed, and these are all things that we potentially, we're thinking about doing. Let's see, where was that?
Well, we needed. Oh, we missed the
there
first
it
week
is.
mark where he said he'd do even more.
That's true. That's true. Although to be fair, I don't know how he would have done it. I know what his schedule's like. Matt and I have been kind of talking on the site ever since that first billboard, and he's actually visited me a few times in person. We've hung out a few times, so it's safe to say we're friends beyond the digital scope at this point. But
Yeah, that's cool.
he tells me all the time what's going on. I'm like, I don't know how you have time to put the videos up you do, let alone do another 2 videos a week.
Record them all in huge stacks and then just schedule them for
I
the
don't
rest
think
of
he
the
sleeps. I think that's what he does. Well, I mean, he has 2 little babies who are like 5 months old, so he definitely doesn't sleep now if he was sleeping before.
Or he wasn't sleeping to prepare for having the kids. Yeah.
That's. I had asked. No, I seriously asked him ahead of time. Are you catching up on your sleep now? Because you won't be sleeping later. So yeah, we obviously you can see if you scroll through the notes where I'm asking other Twin Sons members to chip in if they want to be in and all that fun stuff. The groundwork kind of explained more about that there. Kind of mentioned what we're thinking for wording. Start thinking about what you want to do for wording, that kind of thing. Some other notes I mentioned. Let's see.
One
we
of
want
the
to make sure
early ideas for the wording is got here is, "Dear Lucasfilm, we're still here. Continue Legends."
essentially what we wanted to say, actually, but obviously not how we wanted to say it.
Yeah.
So that was just to get the general thought process started for everybody.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, it's other notes we had here. We wanted to make sure the TSF, so our Twin Sons Foundation website, would be somewhere on the billboard, but obviously not the focus, because that's not the focus. The other things we mentioned was potential stretch goals, which is one we're actually turning. We've already announced that if we hit if we hit 5,800 and still have time left over, anything raised beyond that, we're going to start putting towards a new book donation some point next year. I think we have a rough target in mind, but we're not 100% certain on that yet, so we won't quite announce it just yet. But yeah, that one should be good.
Cool.
So that's basically generally kind of we started with a very zoomed out view on where we wanted to go with this project, and then we just kind of started focusing on specific things as we went on, depending on what information we had. And the next meeting was on the 28th of August, and by this point some things had changed. And I think we have some other links to some documents we can share here, just kind of show you guys what we were looking at. I don't know, is there a way to share from channel to channel?
Don't think so. You'd have to upload it separately.
Okay, well, I will do that because I think I have them still. I still have my.
Well,
thought
I can
just in
bring
case.
it up here to have a squeeze at. So which
Okay.
one are you gonna start with?
So let's. I think I'll throw the two PDFs. We'll do the clear channel one first. And then let's do Outfront Media. So these are two companies that have billboards in that area. So these are basically general overviews on that area.
Cool.
And I mean, it might be hard to read some of these, but basically, Outfront Media had a single billboard that was remotely in the area. And when I send over the Excel documents, you'll be able to see that it was very pricey. Clear Channel gave us 5 options. And we were looking at these. We kind of had a rough idea based on where they're at, which ones we like. And what settled it, and I'm going to drop these Excel documents in now, was the pricing. And one other bit of information that had changed since we did the first billboard through Clear Channel. They've since changed their policies such that we are no longer able to rent out space on a single billboard for 4 weeks. It would have had to have been a single billboard for 8 weeks, or 2 billboards for 4 weeks. Obviously, our message didn't need to be out there 8 weeks, so we kind of knew what we wanted to do from that point. We just didn't know it was possible to do that within our limit of staying with under 10,000 and still being reasonable. So if you look at the clear channel options, there are 2 billboards
with twin sons like you had your son.
What's that?
It's got twin sons spelt like it's your child.
Yeah, they messed up on that. That happens every now and then. They understand.
It's funny because
it
I was thinking, does Matt hope for twin sons?
Well, he does, but not for the child variety. He's got twin daughters now. So yeah, we actually went and I highlighted the 2 that we're looking at. So you guys actually, anybody who has this document now knows roughly what we're looking at or aiming for. And you can see the pricing on there. The 4-week rental price for these is $4,500. There is also a $500 per billboard production cost. So it's another $1,000 on top of that for the production cost, which brings us to $5,500. Obviously, our goal is not $5,500. Our goal is $5,800. The difference there is actually covering PayPal fees that we're having to pay as we're collecting your donations. So we built in roughly $300, which should cover every eventuality. And Dylan meticulously went through every single country's currency conversion through PayPal and what they charge for every single country conversion. And we realized that, yeah, even in the worst case scenario, if we had the worst conversion rate, $300 would be enough to cover it. So that's kind of what we were thinking there. So literally all of this goes to a billboard, goes to paying costs for raising the funds for the billboard. There's nothing going anywhere else. Until we start raising funds beyond the $5,800, then it's all going towards books. Yay!
Cool.
Yes, this is why he's the treasurer.
He's the treasurer. Yep, definitely.
It is very much why he's the treasurer. He kind of went beyond the Call of Duty there. But
it's good to really have
I'm
someone
no good
with
at
those
math,
skills.
and while Brian is good at math, Dylan is like obsessively good. So yes,
1
that
plus
is
1
really
equals a window. Yeah.
So yeah, we had a mod post that actually went. I wanted to in the notes here because it kind of gave more of a rough outlines to what we wanted to do messaging wise. 4 things we were looking for. Message needs to be polite, concise enough to be read while sitting in traffic, because these billboards are going to be along a route where traffic is very heavy a lot of the time. So people will be able to sit there for at least a couple of minutes and read. Number 2, the message needed to be asking for a continuation of Expanded Universe / Legends, obviously.
Yeah,
Number 3, the message needed to somehow indicate we don't want to end the current canon timeline, which is something that got confused in that first billboard effort quite a bit.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people were saying that actually that's their opinion on social media, so that's probably where they got the wrong impression.
Exactly. And there were, to be fair, some people intentionally distorted the message. I couldn't even recall anybody off the top of my head who did it, but it's pretty obvious if you look back who it was.
No need to name people here anyway.
Yeah, I'm not big on that. I like to focus on the positive, if you guys didn't know that.
But yeah, I think that's good because we know how it feels when you end a timeline, obviously.
Yep.
And so there are people that like the new canon, so we don't want to stop it. We just want to have a continuation of our stories that we love.
Exactly, and to be honest with you, we have several members in Twin Suns Foundation who are also canon fans. They like what's going on with the canon timeline. They just also happen to like the Expanded Universe timeline. Yeah. Matter of fact, I think the person who does all of our official images, Paul Adams, follows the new canon somewhat too. Yeah. So yeah, he's probably the one most people might be familiar with if you've been following us. But yeah, we have several others in the organization that do too. And I would hate to do that to somebody like, yes, the Expanding Universe got continued. Oh, the Disney canon timeline got discontinued.
Yeah.
I know what that's like. I don't want that to happen.
And it just create more division amongst fans anyway.
Right. So obviously
I think
that's
the fact that Brian is so, like, what's the word you just used a minute ago? Like, basically he's a very peaceful person. I think that's why Twin as long as it could, because he's not like this combative social media figurehead who's like bitching at other people about why they're wrong about Star Wars. Like, you think Darth Maul is better than Darth Revan. You therefore suck, and everything you feel about Star Wars is invalid. Like, the fact that he's not that is why Twin Suns has lasted as long as it has. Like, he's very good at finding diplomatic solutions.
Or I'm just good at projecting that. Maybe I'm not that way.
You're just like, inside I want to just take this guy down.
Yeah, he's really a Sith Lord, but he casts a good cloak of deception.
It's like Darth Jar Jar.
Don't expose me. Don't expose me as the Senate. Jeez. So during our August 20th meeting, that's when we had settled on our locations that I shared earlier. Our goal being 5,800. You know, we had Chris set to do the mailings wording, the mailers wording. So Chris Nelson, he has a way with words. We knew that. So we had set him to the task of actually getting our groundwork lettering together and getting that put together. So anybody who was a content creator or a media personality that we had been familiar with got a pretty nicely worded email explaining what was going on.
Nice.
And I think the email that went out to the donors was heavily dependent on Chris too.
Yeah, he's really good at saying things.
He is.
Dylan's commented, hot take incoming, Cloak of Deception is the worst Lucino book.
Alright, Dylan, you're entitled to your opinion. The actual message of the billboard. So we wanted the actual message of to be decided by the 13th. I think we had set that date earlier, but it took longer than that for reasons. But this is also the first point where we mentioned that we wanted to do a video introducing the billboard fundraiser on the Twin Suns Foundation YouTube channel. So after this meeting got started, I ended up working on recording stuff, and since I'm terrible at recording stuff, I think it took me something like 53 takes to get it all right. And then I sent that off to Gordon. Gordon did some wizardry with it and put it through several renditions and shared that with the team. 5. Was it 5? Because the sixth one was the one I saw posted and it was finally approved. But I think it was the same as the fifth
one with the final prototype.
Right. So he ended up putting the sixth one out there, and basically it was perfect. He got the music volume just right. He got the intro music, which was composed by another person in Twin Suns Foundation. Dennis does a great job with that stuff. I think he's actually looking to do it professionally too. So if you ever guys ever get a chance, I think it's Dennis Mowers Music on Facebook. He has a either a page or a group. I think it's a page. Go ahead and give that a look. You might be able to hear some of his work. But yeah, all that stuff Gordon was putting together. That didn't get done until a little bit later, obviously. But yeah, everybody was getting individualized tasks, and everybody was chipping in. It was great. Let's see what else is here. Needs to be mentioned from the second meeting. I don't think there's much else there. So on the 31st,
muck around with them two facing each other.
What's that?
And you said for the message you can muck around with the two billboards are facing each other.
That's right. There. Yeah, step 4. Number 4 on that list was yeah, because we knew they were going to be kind of close, thin eye shot of one another. You might be able to play with that for your creativity and what you could do. So. Yeah, we didn't end up really doing that much. It does come through with some of the billboard wording, but not as much as I was initially thinking, and I think that's probably a good thing. So yeah, that was basically that meeting. The 31st is when I recorded all those videos. It took way longer than it should have. I am definitely not a professional YouTuber. I learned that pretty quickly. So,
that's all right. You made a start, and I think as far as YouTube goes, once you make a start and you start doing things more often, you start to get better, like just from practice and from knowing how your mind works and what notes you need to take in that to
exactly.
Right.
It's the same thing as doing billboards, Callum. Actually, and once you do it once or twice, you get.
Oh yeah, so you're like, oh, this time we'll learn double the amount because we're doing 2 billboards.
That's right. That's right. But okay, so September 11th is when we did our next billboard meeting. It was that evening, and it was set then because that was one of the rare times we could get Matt back into the whole conversation. And Matt at that time had been doing a bunch of dinner theater stuff and really had no time between dinner theater, his daughters, and I don't remember quite when it was, but it was somewhere around this time frame that his wife had actually gone out of town on business too. So he was solo parroting through all of this, which was interesting. And I know for a fact he was sending some of the messages while he was dealing with his daughters on the other hand. So, that guy, he definitely wanted to be involved, but you know, life happens. You have to take care of other things.
And they say men can't multitask.
Yeah, he can't. He clearly can't because he had a daughter on his lap crying during our meeting. And no, I'm just kidding. It wasn't that bad.
When his daughters have been in our meeting, they've both just like cooed and babbled. Just like,
that's right.
Great suggestion.
I could have sworn that they were going to be scared off by Dylan, but apparently not. I guess that's why Matt keeps saying Dylan needs to babysit for him. Anyway, you thought you were going to get away without hearing that. Promised I would.
He's just silent, like, I'm not going to take it.
I'm not here. Right. So this is when we started really working on the wording for the... And you can kind of see the text for the initial, what we were looking at. Dear Lucasfilm, we'd like to ask again, please continue the Legends timeline, because more adventures are great for everyone. 2 billboards, 2 timelines. And Callum, if you want to, we can probably, I'm going to probably share those images, these concept images here.
Alright, cool.
Let's see. Yep, that was the first
I
one.
just work here, yeah. Right.
So that was the first one we did.
So, they saved in a different order on my computer, but that's okay.
That's fine. We're just going to be throwing them all in there anyway, so anybody can have a look here. I think
this is one of the... I've got the We Come By New Legends, so we brought these billboards instead.
Okay.
One up at the moment.
So you see the big change between these, and to be honest with you, these were the first concept image we did. And we gave these all the wording that's in the September 11th meeting to Paul. And Paul's basically the one that turns it into what it looks like.
We've got a good feeling about
fonts,
this.
all that fun stuff. Exactly. So obviously these things have changed a little bit. The 2 billboards, 2 timelines, we liked a lot when we initially did this. But after seeing it on there, we were like, I think that's kind of a waste. So maybe we can do something better.
Yeah, it's a bit odd to say 2 billboards on the
exactly.
billboards when you can
exactly.
see them.
So, and Paul, for those who don't know, is also somewhat of a professional in this field, so he knows what he's doing when he designs these things. And it was his suggestion to go with the alternate versions you see there. And I think that's more or less what we ultimately ended up doing. And I think some of the wording got changed a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah.
To what the current versions are. And to be clear, we wanted to keep the format, like the opening crawl look, the same as the original, because it was our way of saying, hey, yeah, we're still here, without having to say it.
And it's a good consistency thing across the board.
Exactly. And they know exactly who it is, who same group of people who did the first one, backed by the same people who did back the first one, that kind of thing. So, yeah. We also have listed here, and there aren't any concept images for this because we're confident that this is probably not going to be needed, but there was a rumor, and Dylan brought this to our attention, something called Project Luminous, which we thought there was an off chance that might have something to do with an official continuation to the Legends timeline. It's become less certain since then, and we were pretty uncertain at that point, but we figured we needed messages for billboards in case they did continue it after we had funded but before we had placed the billboards up. It would look kind of weird asking for new Legends if they announced it, right? So yeah, that's why these came through. The first billboard we would just have, thank you Lucasfilm for continuing the Legends timeline. Simple, point to the point. The second billboard we were going to turn into a Twin Suns Foundation advertisement, because we figured most of the people that donate to this billboard effort would be okay with us continuing to promote the expanded universe on their behalf for next generations, you know, that kind of thing. It was also during this meeting that we learned that our initial plan to have the contract signed before we started raising funds was impossible, because Clear Channel had changed one other policy that they didn't tell me about until this point.
Yeah.
Which was they need the money up front before we could sign the contract. So that's why we're still uncertain as to the specific location and specifically when they're going to go up, because we don't have a signed contract. They said we have to have the money first.
So the sooner the better.
Exactly. And the sooner we can get the funds raised, the sooner we can sign that contract, the sooner we'll know when both of those billboard locations that we liked for this price were still open next year. So it might still end up being January or February. We just don't know yet. And it does, obviously, we have to fund, and we have to fund relatively soon to make that happen. So
yeah, and it'll be something that it'll be the best timing if you do it and this original plan.
Well, we knew timing-wise, the most important thing timing-wise is we wanted to make sure they finished their sequel trilogy first. We did not want to be caught up in all the news scramble for that. And we didn't want to be like raining on anybody's parade who's enjoying the new sequel trilogy. That's just not our style. But we do want to make sure our message is coming out at a relevant time. So we wanted it to try to be on the heels of the sequel trilogy, reasonably close to it, while Star Wars was still in the news cycle, so to speak. So that's why we're aiming for that time frame. And that's kind of roughly always been a plan that we've had.
That's cool.
Let's see, what else? Perks. So this is kind of the first time you see the more finalized perks. The only one that's slightly different is due to a misunderstanding on my part, which was the $50 one. My misunderstanding was I thought Matt was going to have people on for his More Civilized Age for like a few minutes to ask a few questions for all the hosts, instead of doing, you know, a few minutes on his Q&As that he does all the time. And that's what he meant. So I had to correct that. But everything else there is the same. Yeah, everything else there got on there. And while I'm thinking about it, maybe I should take the chance to announce our new announcement. What do you think, Amelia?
Go for it. Let's do it.
Since we're talking about perks. We're talking about perks.
The stretch goals that were omitted.
Actually, yes, they still are omitted. This is something entirely new that we had recently.
Nice.
So I am sending 4 images to the chat now. Hopefully this works. It's coming off my phone. Oh, that went to the wrong one. It went to the documents one.
And
I told you that would happen.
I can bring that up too.
I'm sending it now. There we go. So, here we have 4 nice Legends-related pictures. What we've decided to do is, and this is retroactive for all prior donations for this current fundraiser, is starting at $15 and up, we're going to enter you guys into a raffle to win one of these prizes. And we'll be drawing those raffles after the project successfully funds or when it concludes, whichever the case might be. And what we're going to be shipping those. We do have a limit on how much we can spend on shipping. We should be able to get these out to you guys, obviously with the shipping limit we have. But it's on the website now. I think I put it up there just before this started. It's going to be a $15 limit to ship it to places. We have another person in Twin Suns Foundation who actually works for the United States Postal Service, and he told us that we should be able to ship most of these things, probably all of these things, to anywhere in the world for under $15. So it should be possible to get this to everybody that could potentially win. So we'd be doing the the Shannon McRandall prints separately. There'd be 3 different potentials there. You got 3 figures here. You got the Clone Wars Dirge, you got the original Dark Forces Kyle Katarn, and the Dark Forces Phase 3 Dark Trooper there. There's also, those things are terrifying. I hated running into those. Distinctly remember it. It's the stuff of nightmares. Yeah. But there are also 3 more things that are not shown here because they have not gotten to me yet. They're all the same thing. It is the 3.5-inch Black Series Imperial Guard, the Royal Guard,
Oh, nice.
which had the legends inspired from the Crimson Empire comics alternate stuff to them. And
Very nice.
there's going to be 3 of those. So, like I said, anybody $15 or up, if you're donating, if you've already donated, you're already entered into this. But if you donate going forward $15 or up, you'll be entered to win potentially one of these prizes.
Nice.
So we figured that would be a fun way to potentially do something as too.
Yeah, that is fun. So, like, how did you decide what the prizes would be?
Frankly, I went through and did some random searches for random things that were legends that. I wonder if there's something like this, and a lot of the stuff was too expensive. So. No, actually, a lot of these things were first things we thought of. Like the prints we've actually had for a while. These were donated to us from Shannon back before we did our Celebration Orlando event. We had probably 40 or so prints, I want to say. It was quite a few. And we were giving them out to people who came by the table and donated a specific number of books. I think it was 5 books during our first one. But yeah, that's kind of where they started going. And then Celebration, much more. And then obviously these are the last ones we've got left. 2 of them are signed, I think, and one of them was just an extra that kind of she threw in there too. So
Nice. So I know what I'm doing the next payday.
So yeah, that's our hope. That's obviously we know that not everybody needs to donate to this, but we do also know that fundraisers with perks, because we've run them without perks before, the ones with perks do better. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Wanted to make this have the best chance of success as possible, and so that's what we decided to do, is these prizes. One other thing that we're considering doing is that anybody who's a content creator there, I know we announced earlier that if you guys had perks you wanted to add, you could certainly talk to us about it, but this might be an easier way for you guys to get involved. Is maybe if you have a prize you want to offer up, we can I can talk. We can put that as part of our fundraiser, our raffle here. So yeah,
I've actually got some double ups of Star Wars books.
Exactly, that kind of stuff.
So
I know
those could
Legends
be in
fans
there. I'll
out there
shoot
have.
you some pictures later.
Yeah, so if you've got stuff like that, there might be more prizes. You guys have a chance of, more prizes there are, the better chance you have of winning.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So hopefully that's a cool idea. I hope everybody kind of likes that. It was kind of a random thing came to mind.
Cool.
And I was like, yeah, why don't we do that? That'd be fun.
Awesome. And Dylan dropped the link, and links be in the description when this video goes up on YouTube and everything, of course.
Awesome.
For donating, so that's awesome.
Yeah, that's correct, Dylan. Obviously, we paid for this out of our own pocket. We didn't do this through
definitely.
Twin Sons funds. This is us as the Twin Sons team saying, hey, we want to do a little something extra too if we can. So let's do it.
Do it.
Yeah, exactly. Do it. So anyway, going back to it.
Done.
You know what, Brian? Brian, you know what would really, like, in a heartbeat?
I'm not sending a rocket to the moon.
Yeah, no. What I was gonna say was, if one of the perks, if you donated like a certain large amount, you got Brian's copy of Star Wars Queen's Gambit.
No, see, that's not happening. Not unless somebody wants to donate like 3,000.
Well, that 3,000's the amount to beat Matt.
That's right. That's right. And that's the only way I will ever get rid of that copy, because I will use a lot of money of my own that I would otherwise, try and find another copy of that. That game is just hard to find. I always keep an eye out for it, though. Fun game, fun game. Okay, so that's kind of our perks. That's kind of what we settled on, minus the one we just announced, obviously. And there might be still some stretch goal perks that we add in there later.
Nice.
Team kind of knows which ones we're talking about, but yeah.
Twin Sons Foundation Group Holiday Special.
Matt said he's thinking of doing 200, 400, 800. So I don't think Matt.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead and respond to Gerard. If I'm not butchering your name, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I don't think Matt had anything specifically in mind for those I know he thinks, and this is kind of the way Matt thinks. He kind of thinks very similarly to me in this regard. Is he sees somebody dropping $200, $400, $800 on a billboard, like this, and he thinks, okay, well, our highest perk's only $100. We got to give him something for that. We have to. So that's kind of the way he thinks. He thinks, okay, so I need to do something special for somebody who's done $200 donation or $400 donation or an $800 donation, because these guys really, really, really want this to happen. Like, really.
Yeah. And from his video, it just sounded like he doesn't have any ideas at the moment. He's just like, well, I'll do something because you've given so much.
No, and that's exactly true. He does, as far as I know, he doesn't actually have an idea in mind. But it wouldn't surprise me if he tried to go out of his way to do something for those people, because that's just the way he is when it comes to things like this. I know he's kind of going out of his way for some of the perks he's offering. Like, I think he teased in one of his videos that for his $25 perk, he was going to give you guys access to recordings of some Let's Plays. And I know some of the people he's planning on doing those Let's Plays with are not necessarily close to where he lives. So he's going to be kind of going
for
out of his way to do
clarification, he plays board games, not video games.
He does do board. I say they're Let's Plays. It is a Let's Play.
Usually when you say Let's Plays on YouTube, you think about video games, that's all.
Exactly.
Or when you say somebody has a gaming channel.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yes, Matt does board games, and I believe he's sticking to the Star Wars board games he has. And to my knowledge, he hasn't played any of those in front of the camera before.
He might have to play Queen's Gambit.
He's actually threatening to come to Texas with Queen's Gambit and play it with me. I say threatening affectionately, so.
Yeah. Well, see, the really interesting thing is, if that happens, I'm very curious to see if Matt gives up the ability to play the Trade Federation side on that game, or if he gives that to Amelia to play, because whoever it is gets to slaughter a bunch of Gungans either way. So, and let's just say Matt enjoys that. Yeah, he had a good time playing that. I almost regret introducing him to that game.
Have you two ever played it together, Brian?
Oh yeah, I almost regret introducing him to that game because my copy's been under threat of being stolen every single day since then.
So what you need to do is, you have the original copy, just get someone to create a replica.
Just 3D print all the pieces, because there are a lot of pieces. Okay, so kind of moving on. Go ahead.
I want to bring up a game on Steam called Tabletop Simulator. If you're interested in playing Queen's Gambit, there is a mod for Tabletop Simulator that will basically replicate Queen's Gambit. Up to 10 players can play on the Tabletop Simulator.
That's a cool thing. I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't know about that, so that might be something good to look into. And also, if you're playing multiplayer over the internet...
Yeah.
Work well.
That sounds really interesting. I don't think Matt would enjoy that but everybody else who doesn't have like $500 to drop on.
I don't have the money to drop on Queen's Gambit and to pay for flights to bring people here. Yeah.
I've been trying to get a TSF play series going with stuff like Tabletop Simulator, but nobody really has the time.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're just busy with our actual jobs and not our our fun job.
The jobs we get paid to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, I pay you all in hopes and dreams.
That's true.
Apparently, the Trade Federation is also a guaranteed loss. Dylan's saying
it is almost guaranteed. It is very difficult to win as a Trade Federation
because
the
Palpatine didn't succeed in making it legal.
Right. So the trade-off is, again, are you really? I have to ask this question: are you really losing if you're killing Gungans as a Trade Federation? Matt's mind, no, you aren't. Anyway, moving on. September 12th is when those concept images got put together, the ones we already shared. That was done by Paul Adams, as I mentioned, and TSF team, the Twin Suns Foundation team, was kind of working on that. You kept the shields up when you played, nice. It was really hard to do. September 20th was the next meeting, and this is also the same day as our our holiday. Our Star Wars Reads 2019 fundraiser ended that day. So this is when we actually started fully switching over to billboard mode. And we got pretty excited because we knew we were getting really close to being able to share with everybody else.
Brian,
yes?
The thing I was going to say was that if we do a movie night where Twin Sons get commentary, the movie we could do should be the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yeah, that would be...
It doesn't get copyrighted.
That would be interesting. I think Dylan's saying no flat out, though.
It's the only one that doesn't get copyrighted. So you could actually have all of the audio and everything in there.
Interesting. Well, that might be something we end up doing. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. That might be something we end up doing. I mean, I'd have fun with it. I know you guys probably would too.
Just have
so yeah, September 20th meeting. I'm sorry, go ahead, Kellen.
Oh, but yeah, I was just saying we have fun with banter. That's good.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And some of the banter that we have in Twin Sons Found. To put it lightly, wait, Amelia was going to offer like I think a $400 perk for scratching your name into the rocket that's going to go to the moon, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
I'm always joking about.
I will personally etch your name into our rocket.
Yeah, someone saying out the question. Sure, shoot before I go on.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah,
that's a good question.
It is a good question, and this is one of the reasons, honestly, why I'm back at the perks and thinking, is there actually anything more I can do now that I actually have some time to devote to potentially doing more perks? And that's when I started thinking about doing the one that we did. He's right, it does look a little bit lazy if you're not behind the scenes as one of these people that's putting this whole dang thing together. You're not privy to the information of how much is already going on and how limited in what you can possibly do for perks you are. Because I think in that video, and I do watch his videos because I take all criticism seriously. If we can improve in any way, shape, or form, I like to try and improve. But he mentions the t-shirt idea, and I kind of already mentioned that just ended up being something that expense-wise wasn't really possible for what we do. There were some possible solutions for doing it, but they were all too time intensive to really implement, such as putting in some sort of storefront on the website or something along those lines. And then again, it also would have raised those perks a little bit too high in expense to do it. So yeah, I mean, I can understand why somebody might think that just looking at this, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to take the opportunity Callum was giving us to talk about this project in detail and to kind of explain just how busy this made everybody. And you got to keep in mind, everybody working on this, and I think there were roughly 12 individuals, everybody working on this is not their job. This is something they do on their free time, if they have any free time. And,
and if they don't have any free time, they probably go with that.
Yeah.
And I mean, for example, in my actual job, I'm a property manager. I'm on call 20, and I probably work 40 to 60 hours regularly every week. And that was before, and this is good news for my family's business, because it's a family business we run. Our property portfolio just basically increased from 25 to 35. We had been at 25 for the last 5-10 years now. And when you take on 10 additional properties, you get very busy very quickly, and that was happening while all this was going on for Twin Sons Foundation. So, yeah, to say I was busy is an understatement, but I know other people were possibly even more busy than I was. And like, I don't have twin girls to take care of. That takes a lot of time out of your day. So, yeah, I saw the perks. I guess if you want to call it being murked, I considered it being criticized, and I understood that. And I think he intended it from a good place. At least that's how I'm going to take it, because there's always ways we can improve. And as you can see, I like to take criticism and turn it around into a positive, and that's what I think we're managing to do here with the perk we just announced at $15. So hopefully that's cool.
I think one of the other things he says is about the extra videos and whatever Matt's doing should be available to fans anyway.
So yeah, and I can kind of understand how you might too, but they are, as you said, Callan, they're extra videos. These are things that he would not be doing otherwise. This is in addition to his content that he already does regularly. He would be doing these extra things, and if you miss these extra things, you're not missing out on the things he regularly does because they'll still be readily available all the time. It's just Matt wanted to find a way to offer perks to kind of help our campaign out, while also personally finding a way to thank people who were donating to this effort because he believes in it. And
find new ways to motivate them.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. So perhaps we'll have to find new ways to motivate them. Yes. So yeah, that's it. I mean, that's more or less what it comes down to. So, and I can kind of understand it.
Yeah. One of the other things is I won't be surprised if he makes them public later on or links them to the expanded universe or whatever after the billboards finish and that, because
right. I mean, even the perk where
ones would be good.
Right.
To
even
watch like that.
Even that perk where it's $100, he's just bringing on a guest host essentially. Everybody's still going to see that. That's his regular content. He's just doing something a little bit different to reward people who donated. And to be honest with you, I mean, yeah, maybe it's not worth $100, but it's a lot of fun. And really, what you're donating to isn't the perk; it's the billboard message, which should be the focus for everybody. That's the real perk: is the ability to help us try to request that Lucasfilms continue the expanded universe. That's the real thing here. We're not about perks. That's, if we could do it without perks, I would have done that in a heartbeat. But we already know from experience that just doesn't work. So that's kind of our thought process there. And then that's a little bit of insight into Matt's idea of the perks and why he did them that way. I knowing Matt like I do, Matt can defend himself. I don't want to get to that too much, but I think that presumes a lot when you're considering that Matt's very egotistical. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't like throwing labels around anyway. I think it reflects badly on just the person that's criticizing. I think it reflects badly on them for throwing around labels like saying someone's egotistical and that, because it sounds like a personal attack.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I can see on the surface point of view, you don't know very well and you haven't been hearing what's going on, offline with him. You might think a lot about him that's just not accurate. And I really wish I had, more proof to share with you guys on everything he's been going through, with how busy he's been. I just don't, because we talk on the phone and I don't record our phone calls.
There's no need to. Just ask your FBI agent that's watching you.
Well, that's true. I do have several assigned to me at this point, for sure. I don't know, honestly. I just don't. Yeah. And like I said, Matt can defend himself. I know exactly what Matt's going through from what he's told me, from what I've experienced. I can tell you, out of all these meetings that we had, he was only able to be at some of them, and even the ones he was at, he was not even there for the whole time because he was just too busy. And this is the billboard project. This is like, as much as it's our baby, it's his babies too, because it was his idea first. So yeah, of course he wants to see it succeed and he wants to be a part of it as much as he can. He just didn't have the time for us either. Also, last time less than 20% of the people who were owed perks opted to claim. It's very true. Not everybody claims perks, and he knows that not everybody wants to go on and talk with him, and he's fine with that. He just wants to offer something that they can take advantage of if you're donating. Yeah.
Because you look at it and go, oh, I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
I think donating as well, it sort of gives back to the people that are donating if they do opt to claim with the perks, because then by actually donating, it's showing that they're actually dedicated to continuing the AU and that as well.
Exactly, and that's the way I like to think of it. I don't think everybody works. I mean, most of these things you guys could get on your own either way. I mean, Matt's offering exclusive content, of course, but that's extra stuff, and that's what he wants to do. But it's not like you can't go out and find the figures that we just offered up as part of our raffle, for example. The Shannon prints are out there. You could find these things. It's not impossible, but
Shannon
we wanted
McRandall's
to
open to
offer
talking on social media as well, so you could even just ask
yeah,
her
she
if you
is.
send
I
her
think
something or
she's. I
whatever.
think she's been a little bit preoccupied with health issues. At the moment.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think she has been.
But
Hopefully
that's yeah.
she gets better soon. And
So yeah, I
doesn't
mean, those are my
have to
general
miss
thoughts on you know, Matt's perks being offered, kind of the background on the perks that we've offered, and kind of what we're thinking. There's always the chance that we might add more later down the road. Like I said earlier, if the content creators out there want to offer, you know, things of their own they want to put into this raffle, I'm sure Twin Suns will look at that and potentially add them officially onto the fundraiser page. So, you know, there are ways to make things work even better than what they are. I readily admit that, but this is what we had the time to do, and that's what we're doing.
On the subject of perks, we do have another one that I've just added. I'll add it to the fundraiser page later, but there is another perk.
Okay, what you got?
With the original billboard, we added fan messages basically to the Give Us Legends website.
Yes,
For
that would be
anyone
something.
For anyone that donates over $25, they will get their own spot on a new separate website I am working on. It'll be a full page. You can have whatever you want on there as long as it falls within the rules. But you can have whatever you want on there, pictures or text or bio, whatever you want.
Cool.
that sounds cool.
Can I participate in that?
You have to donate
Dang it.
over $25
Oh, well, I'm good there.
after this. Yeah.
Oh, after this. Okay, going forward. Okay, well, to be fair, I might end up donating. For now, I want to see how many people can get in this, because that's also another message that Billboard sends, is that if you got a lot of people donating small amounts, you really know something's going on. So,
But yeah,
go ahead.
the website I'm working on for it will be its own dedicated website. And as I said, each person that opts in to claim this perk after they've donated $25 or more, you'll have a full page of whatever you want, basically.
That's fun. Yeah, I think we charged more than 25 for that in the first.
I think so.
So yeah, that's pretty cool. I like
That's
that
a
idea.
good
Gordon.
deal because you get free advertising to go, hey, here's my website.
I don't know. I might even let you link it to Twin Suns, Gordon.
We in the original one, we $10 got you a 500 character message. 25 got you a 1,000 character message.
Right.
That same amount there, I'm letting you have basically whatever you want, a full page with as many images as you want.
Cool. I like it.
I'm
I like it a
sure
lot.
if you're a content creator, you could embed videos and whatnot as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll probably reach out to the winners. I'm thinking, Dylan, instead of just having everybody send us their addresses, as long as their email addresses.
Yeah. Because some people have trouble trusting things as well.
Right. I don't want to take more information than we need at any given time, and I know a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, the government already does enough of that.
Here we go. Moving on before Amelia goes on a tangent here. Amelia, I didn't
move on.
Okay, go ahead.
Just a request to anyone listening that does donate, be sure to be careful with your email address. We've had a few bounced emails because of typos in the email addresses.
Yes, that has happened.
Yeah,
so we want to make
issue.
sure we contact you. Otherwise, obviously, we can't, get you your perks or potentially your reward for winning a fundraiser raffle. Let's see. So we're on the September 20th meeting. This is kind of where we're finalizing dates. This meeting was a long meeting, if I remember correctly. Yeah, this was the last. Was
this the 6-hour one?
No, this was our second to last one. Okay, so it was a long meeting. It wasn't the long one. But yeah, we were working on all sorts of stuff related to the wording and whatnot. Yes, that was the one. So yeah, all sorts of stuff. You kind of see some names mentioned here for various people. We were working on the website somewhat there at that point. We knew it needed to be updated because it was dated by that point for a lot of the information that we had on there. Obviously, that requires time to do, so we didn't have the time until later. The 22nd is when we finalized the concept images. Those are the ones you guys saw on all the social media platforms, the final actual images. The only thing that I know of that's changing from those is the bottom website address will be, I think it's right now, it's just www.twin-suns.net. What we'll have on there, instead of just ending at .net, will be /billboard, because we want everybody to go to the billboard page right away when they see that up. It explains what's going on. So
yeah, I think Dylan mentioned that when I talked to him.
Correct, and I think that's the only thing we intend on changing at this point.
Cool.
So, and no, they won't have X-Wings on them. That was me messing around. September 25th is when Gordon finalized the video. Callum, if you want to share the link for the YouTube video we put up.
Yeah, this video that we have here, I'll make sure to just chuck that in the chat.
Some A-Wings, huh? So,
you could have some stealth X's.
In all seriousness, one of the things I'm considering, because I still have the files that made those images, I might update them when this thing concludes with how many donors actually donated, and just add a ship in for every single one of them. And if you guys have a specific preference, I probably will ask people, okay, who were you and what did you donate? And I might put like something in there for you.
Cool.
It was fun to do. It was fun to do. But 27th got the promotional images done. There were 12 of them at that time done. And you'll slowly see those start rolling out. You've seen the 25% update one. We've got others that kind of follow the progress. We've got promotional images with specific EU characters on there, and I think so far you've seen the the Alana one.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. I'm still thinking you guys wanted to put up Anji and not Alana.
I'm sure Darth Talon will get a lot of views if you put her on it.
Actually, that's not one of the ones we currently. But I can tell you, Paul is like really quick about turning around, because we had 2 more added on just yesterday to the list.
Oh, nice.
In light of certain events that are happening in 10 days from now? I think it's 10 days from now. What is that? The 20th? Was it? No, 22nd. Sorry, 12 days from now. The Old Republic Onslaught releases. So
yeah, I'm gonna do a video about that.
It's gonna be. I'm gonna have some fun with that, but.
Yeah.
We have some specific character-related images promoting a billboard in relation to that, so
nice.
You'll see that. But yeah, the 20th meeting was just kind of more finalizing what we could when we could, and then we had another meeting exactly a week later on the 28th. It was our final meeting prior to everything launching, and this one was a long one. The notes are short, but it was a long meeting. Yeah. And I don't mean long as in, oh gosh, this is just dragging on forever, but long as in we had a lot to do. Yes, 6 hours. I think that's right. And we were working on primarily finalizing wording for our groundwork letters initially. During this meeting, Matt barely had any time to join. Chris barely had any time to join us. They were both on at different times during the call, actually. And I think they only were able to join us because we went as long as we did.
Oh, well, there's a perk to going as long as you did.
Yeah. It was. We were able to get more time zones.
Here you go.
That's right. But basically, yeah, we just finalized times for when we wanted to launch everything. We knew we wanted the website donation page and the billboard specific page up at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And then we wanted to give ourselves about 30 minutes before we started announcing on social media what was up, before we actually, said anything, because we hadn't seen what the format was like. We risked putting it live to check the the formatting, or we had to just do it just before we actually started announcing it everywhere, because it wasn't likely anybody was going to see it. But what ended up happening is some of the people who were aware of what some people talked to certain outlets mentioned what was going on, and Matt actually is the one who released his video at 9 a.m. Pacific time, right when we did all the live stuff for the fundraiser. I was like, okay, scramble, we got to get this looking good ASAP because there is some formatting to go on here.
Damn it, Matt.
Yeah. he kept us on our toes. The interesting thing is we actually had started a few minutes before 9 because we were anxious. We wanted to get it going.
So technically he started after you started.
He did. He technically did it after. It just wasn't enough time.
He probably saw, oh, they're up. Bam, I'm putting my video up.
So, and yeah, just so everybody knows, all these conversations Skype specifically so Matt Wilkins could join us, and so Christopher Nelson would want to join us because those guys don't like doing other platforms, specifically Matt more so than Chris.
Oh, I did see Chris here.
Yeah.
Oh, we've been trying to convince him.
We've been trying to convince Matt to move to Discord. Maybe if he sees this video, it'll help. I don't know.
for literally years.
If he's not listening to Brian or me or Dylan, he's not going to listen to anybody.
Or you could just say you're doing all of your conversations on Discord now. That'd force him.
Yeah, let's just leave him out of a few meetings, Brian, and then maybe they'll convince.
Well, to be fair, we only bring them in for billboard stuff.
I mean,
Otherwise,
those hefty Discord fees. Woo.
No, and just so you guys know, Matt's one of those guys, he just doesn't enjoy, I guess, he considers it high school drama of the social media platforms that tends to happen.
He also doesn't enjoy keeping up with technology.
Well, that too. He just doesn't have the time for that, but...
Ain't nobody got time
old.
for that. Yeah.
I'm not much younger than that, but he's old. Right. Well, I'm technically a millennial. Technically, I guess. Okay, so where were we at? Oh, so timing. So yeah, basically that was our timings. We wanted to get all the emails out. Okay, so I think I skipped a few things. I did all those promotional images the weekend after we had just finished doing all the work so same weekend we were doing all the work on the website. We finished doing the work on the website, and while some of the others were still working on those, I just started making random teaser images. And so those are the fun images that had like all the Easter eggs and all that fun stuff. And
Nice.
Initially, I had only planned on doing 3, but I was having so much fun with it, I ended up keep going.
Good times.
So it still took me like 20-something hours to get them all done, but it was fun, and it seemed to have been well appreciated by people, so I had fun.
It's appreciated. And
yeah,
then you
and it was
realise
fun,
that,
'cause-
wait, I had free time. Why did I do that?
Because we had 2 things mentioned during that meeting that we thought we could tease. We're like, yeah, actually, it's right there, teaser post. We discussed doing a teaser post each day between now and Tuesday, which Tuesday was the day it launched, and Friday was the day that was quote-unquote now. But it said posts will consist of in-universe language. So I was typing like this was actually, a squadron leader talking to a command base in the X-Wing, to the command base, that kind of thing. But we also know we wanted to do like heavily pixelated versions of the actual images that were the billboards. So those were the 2 things I was playing off of.
The old Dark Forces graphics.
Exactly. And yeah, exactly. Project 109, the actual title Project 109 was Dylan's. I got to be honest with you guys, this entire billboard project that I can narrow down to any single one person, because there were just so many people contributing to this. Like the wording, I didn't talk about that really that much, but every word on there came from different people, it seems like, because nobody had something that was perfect right off the bat. We just kept tweaking and tweaking and tweaking, and I can't tell you who was with what word anymore. Lost track. Whereas the first billboard, I can tell you it was Bill Adkins, who was the one who did the wording for that. Through several different renditions, he's the one we ultimately went with. But these 2, I can't tell you who it was, because too many people were involved.
I think that's great, though, that you had so many people involved. It was a group effort.
Right, and I mean that's really how Twin Suns efforts typically are, is everybody gets involved. But this one, more so than most, everybody was involved. So yeah, I mean there were some website upsides that were still going on, all that fun stuff, and that was pretty much the weekend of the 28th to 29th and the 30th. We were doing all that fun stuff, and we launched on the 1st. And then you guys probably know the story most of the point since then, but I'd say the team's probably spending individually maybe 1 to 2 hours. I know myself, I spend maybe 1 to 2 hours a day every day. It's been up, just kind of working on it, trying to spread the word as much as I possibly can, fight those algorithms on the various social platforms. But yeah, try to reach out to more fan groups that obviously might not know about it yet. You try different YouTube channels, all that fun stuff. So spread the word.
Do what we can. Woo!
Exactly. Try to get as many people involved as possible. That's what'll make this project successful. I mean, it'll fund, great, but if it funds with a lot of people and a lot of people donating to it, it'll look even better.
Yeah.
So,
cool. I think that's pretty much
that's
sums
kind of
everything up.
Yeah, that's the full ring of everything. Range. Does anybody have any questions out there? Because that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this.
Yeah, so one of the questions we had that actually you posted from someone on Twitter.
Oh, yes.
I thought we may as well go into that now. Said they're all for the Billboard effort, but do we really want the current people in charge of Lucasfilm to be doing the EU stories?
So this is actually a legitimate concern, because some people haven't been happy where they've been taking all the direction. They think the quality or certain political aspects are being sneaking into these things, and I'm not gonna quote my opinion on that one way or the other. That's not my place. But I will say there is some legitimate concern there with who might be taking what direction with the expanded universe. I mean, obviously their attention is not on the expanded universe right now. I think a few things to think about are what has been done with the expanded universe since Disney's been in charge, particularly since 2014. Obviously, it was discontinued officially. But there have been a couple of things that have come out in that time frame, such as the Old Republic content's still coming out for that. It's still been expanded universe level quality writing. It's been consistent with expanded universe stuff. I still see references in the new stuff. I'm very anxious to see what they did with Onslaught, because they're effectively adding new lore to the expanded universe with their new planet, if I'm not mistaken. And then, of course, there's the ever-present Marvel 108 that came out in May. And I know Matt was given some trouble over not, spouting its virtues more. But I can tell you a couple things about that real fast. His daughters had just been born, so he didn't have a lot of time. And all the videos that he had been posting around that time had been pre-recorded because he knew his daughters would be coming. Yeah. So he didn't have anything about 108 except for the one video he did, because we didn't know how good it was going to be, or if it was going to be.
Weren't his twins born on Death Star Day?
What's that? Was it Death Star Day?
Twins born on Death Star Day?
I think it was a little after that, actually. But I'm not sure. I could go back and check. I just know it was roughly that time frame. And obviously, you don't adjust to that quickly. I remember him saying
they were scheduled to be born on April. I'm sorry, what's the date? 24th, 25th? I don't remember the exact date.
April 25th is the Death Star Day. So it's so cool.
Yeah, it was definitely late April, early May when his twins were born. So obviously, his hands were full when this came out a few weeks later. But anyway, Marvel 108 turned out to be great, a perfect fit for the expanded universe timeline. It continued a story that was already there, and that was under the current, Disney supervision. So my thought process on this answer is, we've seen proof that it's already can be done and done right, and we know for a fact that there are already authors and individuals still there that did the original expanded universe content that could be shifted over very easily to focus on it, as well as several authors that I know several team members, others in the community have mentioned talking to, like Stackpole, for example. I can tell you I talked to him at the local comic convention a few years ago, and he said, yeah, he'd be interested in writing again for the expanded universe. You get those guys back, there shouldn't be any question as to what quality we need to be worrying about here.
I think Drew Karpyshyn also said that he would.
Exactly. So if you get people like Karpyshyn, or you get Sino, or you get people like Stackpole back involved, I don't think we have much to worry about. The other thing to consider is the only entity that can give us an official continuation to the Star Wars Legends timeline or expanded universe timeline is Lucasfilm. So if it's going to happen, we have to ask them to make it happen. And we have to demonstrate that demand. Otherwise, it will never happen. And the expanded universe may as well be dead at that point.
Yeah, I think that's what it boils down to in the end is, do we actually want the EU continued, or are we actually just going to give up on it?
Right. And I know I'm not ready to give up on it.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm assuming all of you guys aren't ready to.
Yeah.
It's too good to just give up on. So.
Yeah.
You know.
And my review of Visual 108 will be coming eventually once I finish reading all of the older ones as well. I thought I'd.
You got a lot to catch up on, don't you?
I'm currently on issue 80. My actual reading and my reviews are coming a bit later.
Here's the fun thing. Is my parents a couple years ago for Christmas actually had found a full list of via auction of every original Marvel issue that was released. So I actually have
awesome.
all of them because they found it at an auction, and they're actually in pretty good shape. And that was before 108 was even announced. I was like, oh, and they're announcing 108. It's perfect timing. Now I got to go back and read all of them.
I mean, I'd say there's one or two things where it could have been a little bit better, but that's still really fun and enjoyable.
Right, as long as it's a good story overall. Yeah, as long as it's a good story overall.
Yeah.
So, other questions anybody has about the billboard, about Twin Suns? If not,
there is a question that's unrelated that someone commented on a post that was sort of related to the EU. I may as well talk about that.
Maybe we can field it. Yeah, maybe we can field it.
Well, someone said that someone else said the George Lucas and the movie novels are apparently unrelated.
That George Lucas said the movie novels are unrelated?
I think someone else on YouTube or something must have said that the movie novels and the tie-in novels are unrelated to the actual movie and George Lucas.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that, so I know one thing I will say is that Lucas has always been accused of having an issue with consistency. I honestly don't know how true that is.
I haven't
but if
seen
it's true
any
he said that,
quotes to
then
support that.
yeah. So I don't know. That may be just a rumor floating around. Like I said, too close attention to that. All I do know is that Lucas was heavily involved in the expanded universe to varying degrees, but had the final say on everything.
Yeah, definitely.
And it had to come across his desk before it was ever put into print or put onto a screen or whatever the medium was that you were paying attention to it in. So I think that's been proven pretty conclusively by multiple sources. And I think that should be enough of an answer for that, in my opinion, anyway. But
yeah.
You guys have anything to add to that?
I mean, he was involved in the multimedia projects as well, which is another point I'd say for that.
Shadows of the Empire. I almost bought some stuff from Shadows of the Empire. This other stuff looked more appealing to me.
And the original Star Wars novelization actually has his name on it.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
You can't
Exactly,
say that they're not related to the movies.
And I think I was actually talking to Matt about the novelizations on the phone a couple weeks ago. And we were talking about how each one basically either followed exactly what the movie was plot-wise, or maybe they added the deleted scenes in, I think as is the case with episode 2.
Yeah.
Or maybe they went all out like they did for episode 3, Revenge of the Sith novelization. So
There was an interesting video I saw with Matthew Stover talking about it, saying that he more approached it as writing a companion piece to the movie than adapting the movie, which is really awesome.
Yeah, if you guys ever want to hear backstory or fun backstories on what's going on with like authors and whatnot to the expanded universe, Matt apparently knows more than he's ever mentioned to anyone. I always
He
seem to hear
keeps
something
coming
new.
up with these new stories, and I'm like, wait, where did you...
Oh, I haven't told this one before? No, Matt, you've never told this one.
Matt
It would have been
should,
cool to know.
Matt should just do one video with all of his stories from authors.
What was the last one? It was regarding ISAR. There's a scene where the X-Wings go in and they're on they're attacked by AT-ATs, some walkers, and the cover art on it was done after after everything was written, but because of the way it was done, it came out like it was a battle on snow.
And there's no snow
that was
scenes
not-
in it.
Exactly, it was not written in there. So Stackpole actually went back to rewrite it so that there was snow. That's what Matt had said, and I was like, "Is that true? I want to ask Stackpole about that next time I see him." Shoot,
How
why didn't
does
I
he
know that
come-
the last time I talked to him?
Yeah. Tell us,
Jeez,
Matt.
Matt.
Tell us.
Exactly. Tell us these things. So no, if you guys ever want to hear stories like that, I'm sure Matt would be happy to talk about it. That would be a good one to ask him on his Q&As, actually. Other questions?
I'm not seeing any at the moment.
Cool. Well, I
So,
hope that was a lot of good information.
Yeah, it's been really
Um,
interesting.
Only other thing I want to say, guys, is it is a lot of work. A lot of effort goes into this from a lot of people, and this is all volunteer. So it's not going to look like your grade A professional stuff that, you know, hundreds of people have put thousands upon thousands of hours into. It's arguably true that we have put thousands into it, but we're limited amount of people. So,
Yeah.
there's always going to be room for improvement. If you guys have suggestions for making improvements, I always consider them seriously. It might be something we thought of, it might not be.
Yeah, okay, so there's one final question then, apparently.
Okay.
I didn't plan any other topics really because this was the focus on the Twin Suns stuff, of course.
Sure.
Yeah. Very interesting stuff. Thank you for coming on and joining, and everything's been really good.
What's Matt Wilkins' podcast that I've seen on YouTube? He does a lot of podcasts, but if it's one of the ones...
Is it the More
Yeah,
Civilized Age one?
The More Civilization, that looks like fun. I want to be on that one.
Yeah. Got a good variety of
looks like
people
fun.
on there, which I think is great. Oh,
that one. Yeah, I listened to that whole thing just to see what they were saying, what they're thinking. Like I said, I wish I had, you know, more proof of what I know about what's going on in Matt's life that's keeping him so busy, to provide it, because a lot of what they're insinuating or stating as fact is based on the assumption that he actually does have time, and he just I can tell you, if he didn't have time for a billboard project, he didn't have time for talking to some people that might have had a few questions for him in relation to other aspects of the fandom. So it's something I think you'd probably be better off talking to him about, if he even wants to talk about it. He's the kind of guy who probably just wants to move on, rather than make anybody look bad.
Oh, yeah, okay. So the main thing that started with this podcast and this storyline of Matt Wilkins has betrayed the EU movement or whatever is he's talked to Ryan Kinnell.
Right.
And Ryan Kinnell associates as a fandom menacer.
Yep.
But I agree with Matt that just because someone associates with a certain group, you can actually talk to them outside as part of the EU fan, because the goals are different.
So, and from a Twin Suns Foundation perspective, flat out, when we started this organization, we said that as long as you're an EU fan, as long as you're not going out like threatening death or something like blatantly, obviously, we're gonna be open to dealing with you. That's not to say that we're part of the Fandom Menace. We most certainly are not. But I can tell you, Matt did talk to us before this billboard project was even conceived of, and he said, hey, what if we tried to get any EU fans that just happen to be in other parts of the fandom involved? And I said, yeah, that'd be good. We get more people exposed to it. So that's probably when he decided to reach out to Ryan, who happened to just show up at the right time with an EU focus channel. And honestly, that's all I saw was EU. I didn't even see the Phantom Menace thing until later. And
yeah, I
honestly,
just
I don't really have
person.
I don't really have any opinions on the Phantom Menace because I don't know enough about them.
I've looked into it because these guys also attacked me a few months ago. Just because I didn't wholly badmouth the Phantom Menace.
See, that's the thing. I think they tried to get Twin Suns Foundation to do that, because I know they talked to a couple of our team about trying to condemn them, and that's not what Twin Suns Foundation does, guys. It just isn't. Yeah. We're not out there to condemn anybody. We're out there to spread a positive message. Yeah. We're there to increase everybody's love of the expanded universe. And, you know, we've got enough problems in this world without having to tear each other apart.
Yeah, definitely.
Our basic philosophy is basically Star Wars for everyone.
Exactly. That is our belief. That's why we don't care if you're a new canon fan, an old canon fan, or a mixed canon fan. You're a Star Wars fan. That's all that matters to us.
Yeah. And I'm good friends with a couple of fandom menaces just over the EU. Like Ryan, and Lethal Lightning's also a good one that I commented on an EU video he had, and we just become friends after that over the internet. Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, only other thing I want to add to that is anybody who believe that they just don't know the whole story. And if I had the time to talk to every one of them individually, I'm sure they would get straightened out on what's going on, and their message might be a little different. You know, that might not apply to everybody, but that's the way I like to think about it. That's just the only positive way I can approach things like that, because it happens, and it happens to everybody.
Yeah, apparently that video is gaining a lot of traction, but I was going to leave it alone because it's not worth bringing more attention to, at least specifically in a separate video or anything, because it's just a lot more drama between fans and trying to divide fans more than trying to create unification.
And like I said, that's not really what we're for, but I will say one other thing is it's a little unfair that, you know, Matt's not able to say anything about it. It was basically 3 hours without him being able to defend himself. And I did listen to the whole thing because, like I said, I listen to everything I can find if I've got the time, so that I can, you know, learn what people are thinking. If there's legitimately a problem here, then maybe I can talk to Matt about it. But as best I can tell, I don't think there was a problem there based on what I know. So that's my personal opinion from what I do know, and you know, I think I'll just leave it at that for now.
Yeah, and from what I've seen, it seems like they put Matt up on a pedestal as this great EU guy, and then when he didn't agree with them, they started not liking him.
Which is sad, because Matt's always been blatantly obvious about how he is not the center or the face or anything of the EU movement. He's just another fan. Yeah. He hates being put on a pedestal. He hates it. One thing I will say I think he messed up a little bit on is he has a tendency to, quote unquote, as he says, poke the bear. So if anybody's poking fun at him, he kind of pokes back, and obviously he's ready to get it back.
And it gives them more fuel to be able to go on for 3 hours about...
Right. And I think he knows that too, but yeah, still. It seems a little bit excessive given what I know, but they just don't know what I know, and I can't prove it either. That's the thing that gets me. If I could give them proof for it, I'm sure they'd listen, but they won't listen if I don't have proof.
I like to think the best of people. Anyway,
I do too.
Regardless,
especially since it sounds like most of them are Expanded Universe fans, pretty hardcore
and
Expanded
there's
Universe
even
fans.
Some people. I'm actually going to be doing a video with someone from the Fandom Menace later on that says she's just starting to get into the EU, and I thought it'd be great to hear about her story and how she's coming into the EU now.
That's one thing I will say has been a positive from having Matt talk to Ryan. Is he's right. I have seen a lot of new Expanded Universe fans, which is something we've needed a long time, is shifting focus back to the Expanded Universe. If we're going to get it continued, that's kind of what needs to happen.
Yeah. Getting more people aware of it and reading it and just saying, this is great. I think that's also a more positive thing within the Fandom Menace itself, if the people stop criticising a lot of the new stuff and just praising and being a bit more positive about the EU and saying, this happened and I really enjoyed that, then it's something
It's an interesting conversation to have to compare the Expanded Universe movement and its history to what I think is the current perception of the Fandom Menace. And you can kind of tell that our start in the Expanded Universe was fairly volatile, much like the Fandom Menace is at least said to be. Like I said, I don't know a lot. And it sounded like they had some parallels there where they started getting some more calm personalities involved, like we did. And that's when we started getting our goals in line, and that's when we started doing things like a billboard and, you know, a nonprofit organization. And we calmed down. We actually are on Lucasfilm's good side. I can tell you for a fact. I know we're on Lucasfilm's good side because during the celebration, Chicago, we had somebody from Lucasfilm come to the table, and they basically told us flat out that we're like family and that we're going to be readily invited back to any celebration we want to go to. So, you know, if we went from the old Expanded Universe movement that was vitriolic and very ticked off about what had happened, understandably so, to where we're at now, where we're considered family to Lucasfilm, in the words of one of their employees that's somewhat higher up, I think that's probably the same line that these guys are going through right now. They're obviously still in their vitriolic phase from what people are saying, but you got people like Ryan who are starting to calm down and redirect conversation, starting to come into the picture. It's actually kind of interesting to hear from the sidelines of how it's going on.
Yeah, it's very interesting because a lot of the process, I think we all had the time we were hating on stuff, and
yep, even myself. Amelia said that I never seemed to get angry or a downside or a negative side. I was ticked when this first happened, but I've moved on. There are better ways about getting this fixed than being ticked off.
And so I think it's an interesting phase to go through, and then see other people going through it much later on.
Yep.
After the what's ticked them
Exactly.
off.
Exactly. So,
yeah,
I don't think there's really.
Sorry.
I was going to say, I don't think there's really much more to say about the whole situation. I think the rest of it would be up to Matt.
I think the rest of that sort of thing is an interesting topic.
It is.
I think that was good to talk about a little bit as well.
Yeah, and I think it's fair. And if I'm not mistaken, I know the individual who's had a lot of problems with Matt is actually having a stream this weekend, so that should be interesting to see what he has to say. Hopefully he kind of sits back and thinks about it and maybe considers switching it more to a positive focus, because I know he's an Expanded Universe fan as well. And if that's really the way he is, then yeah, I'm sure he'll come around eventually too.
Yeah, hopefully. I ended up just stepping back and not worrying too much about it because it just doesn't seem worth my time a lot of the time. But yeah.
Yep. So, anything else?
Not that I can think of. I'll give it a minute for any commenters to add anything if they want to.
Sure.
But yeah. Really enjoyed having this chat. It's good. That was the final question, so I think that's everything. So yeah, Thank you guys for joining and having a chat. It was really fun.
No, I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk, and even if I was talking far else. Sorry for the monologue.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Kalim.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's good. I think the monologue is needed somehow, just because it's explaining a lot of the background and the process. I think it's definitely something you just want to go into the meat of.
Yeah, it's easy to not understand what all goes in part of it, and I know that from my actual job that you can easily miss details like this.
Yeah. And it's really good to get an insight into it as well, and being open and transparent, I think, is great. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining on the server and commenting. I'll probably be doing something similar to this while I'm watching movies on my own server, and when I'm doing discussions, either if someone else doesn't want to do an unlisted stream or something, then I'll do it on here, because this is working quite well, I think. Cool. Yeah, good stuff going.
Glad it worked out for you.
It's good. Working out the alternatives, since I have to wait till January 5th. For live
You'll
streams
never
again.
look at anime intros again the same way.
I won't on YouTube. Oh, moe, mo shinderu.
Alright, thanks everyone.
Yeah, thanks, and I'll see you in the next video, or next whatever you're watching or hearing. So, see ya.
Bye.